Hello everyone, welcome to a new series. I'm going to be doing sort of a deck teching series. It's supposed to go along with the uh, Commander Chronicles that I'm about to release the fourth episode, I believe, of. Probably next week or the next, so keep an eye out for that. But for now, I'm just going to do some deck techs. Well, just one deck tech. And today, I'm going to go over my Rafiq deck. So Rafiq, this is him. Let's see if I can get him in the light. Right. All right. So he's my legendary creature, my commander. So Rafiq of the Many. He is a colorless, a green, a white, and a blue for a 3/3 exalted legendary creature, human knight. Like I said, he has exalted, and whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gains double strike until the end of the turn. So a lot of the time, a lot of the people that play this play him with just several different exalted cards and just try to go completely by himself, pretty much on him, to just deal 21 commander damage in less than like 3 turns. So that's basically the gist of this deck. So we're going to put him over here. All right, guys. So now we're gonna get to the mana base. So what I have is Windswept Heath and Grassland. So they're the new fetch land and the Ice Age fetch land, which is delayed because it comes in tapped, and then it does the same thing as a fetch land, but it just a turn slower. In EDH, that's really good because you don't really care if it's a turn slower, just because the games last so long. Obviously, we have the fetch there are the Shockland for those colors, and then we have Canopy Vista to also help with mana. Then we have Sunbattle Grove, Temple of Plenty to scry, and that is it for green white. And moving on to green blue, I didn't have the ability actually to get a Misty Rainforest, so we just have the Breeding Pool. Then we have Lumbering Falls, which is the man land in green blue. We have Temple of Mystery again for scrying, and then the Innistrad green blue land. Then we go to white blue, and we have the same thing, the new fetch land, and then the Ice Age one. Obviously the Shock. Then we have Glacial Fortress, Prairie Stream, Temple of Enlightenment for more scrying, and then Nimbus Maze. And this is interesting because, as you can see, you can only tap for white if you can tap for white, but only if you control an island, and you can tap for blue, but only if you control plains, which is not hard to reach in this deck, just because there is so many of each one. And then we get to the colorless lands. So we got Cathedral of War, obviously. It helps with Exalted. It will pump anything that attacks alone and help you win the game that way, especially with Rafiq. Give him another +1/+1, and on top of the 3 power, 3 toughness he already has, and the fact that he gains double strike whenever that him or the creature that's attacking alone, they get double strike because of his ability. So if he turns into a 4/4, he'll deal 8 damage if it's unblocked. Or actually, no, he'd deal 10 because he's got an exalted trigger too. So 10 damage. And having an exalted trigger on a land is awesome because it's also more difficult to remove than a creature is. So, yeah. Then we have the staple command tower. Has to go in every deck just because it's there's no downside to it. It taps for any color in your commander's identity, and just awesome card overall. We obviously have Reliquary Tower to keep our cards in our hands so we don't have to get rid of them if we ever draw above 7, which happens sometimes if you're not fast enough with this deck. Then I also have Strip Mine. So Strip Mine is sort of like Wasteland, and except it destroys any target land instead of a non-basic. So you can get rid of shocks, you can get rid of fetches, you can get rid of, not that you'd want to sack this and get rid of a fetch, but you could get rid of basics or non-basics, doesn't matter. And it also attached for our colorless as well, so that helps. And then we're running 8 planes. Sadly, they're not all the same art. And then we run 5 islands and 3 forests. And then we'll get to the artifact mana now. So the artifact mana is, obviously, every commander deck has to have a soul ring, so we got a soul ring. Then we got Simic Signet, Selesnya Signet, and Azorius Signet. And that pretty much takes care of the mana base. I mean, there are a couple, like 1 or 2 creatures that tap for mana, but this is basically it. I mean, having the signets and then all of the other land works out really well. So there's the land base. Now we're going to get into the non-creature spells, which are right here. So first off, for the 1-drops, we have Ethereal Armor, which helps with the enchantments, because what I did with him was a whole bunch of enchantments like these, and then just pumping him as high as I can, as quick as I can, to deal 21 commander damage. And oftentimes it doesn't take too long, because if you put this on him with another enchantment, it wouldn't take more than 2 hits to destroy someone. So we got Ethereal Armor, and then we have Sword of Plowshares, Ponder, Path to Exile, Raincore, which is another enchantment that really helps. And then also, for our 2-drops, we have Blind Obedience, which helps keep creatures tapped and make it a whole lot easier for us to get through. Even if they lay a creature down, it'll keep it tapped. Well, not keep it tapped, but allow us 1 more attack through before that creature can block. And then Daybreak Coronet. It was I believe it was in the finals of the 2013 World Championship that Wizards puts on. And I believe the deck is called Boggles, whatever it's called. It's the green-white hexproof deck. It was a staple in that deck, because even though it has to have another aura attached to the creature before you can attach this, the creature gets +3/+3 and has First Strike, Vigilance, and Lifelink. And everything like that is just insane in Commander, because having Vigilance so you can block again, and Lifelink so you don't lose all the life that you just dealt. So even if people are mad at you, you can still have a whole bunch of extra life to deal with that. And First Strike to get rid of anything that stands in your way, because pretty much this is going to make Rafiq kill anything, even Eldrazi, because he'll gain double strike, and he'll already be at like a 6/6, so he'll deal 12. So First Strike damage that would kill almost anything. There's a few things that can get that it doesn't kill, like I believe it's called World Spine Worm or something like that. But yeah, so there's Daybreak Coronet. And then we have Spectral Flight for flying and some more power and toughness. Then we have Commander Staple Cyclonic Rift. You need one of these in every deck running blue, because it helps you. It saves your life. You can bounce everything to everyone's hand, and that isn't your stuff, of course. And yeah, so basically restart the game, but with all your stuff on the battlefield. And then we got Armadillo Cloak, which is Unflinching Courage, but not Unflinching Courage. So it's the same thing as Unflinching Courage, just different art, and it came out earlier. So yeah, Armadillo Cloak. Then we got Unflinching Courage. Then we have Ardent Plea. So this card is pretty cool. It is a 3-drop enchantment with Exalted, but it also has an important thing called Cascade. So Cascade will oftentimes hit into another enchantment, just because there are so many enchantments in the deck, and we'll get to cast it and equip it to Rafiq and do that completely for free. So this is awesome to have, and it helps boost any creature that attacks alone, and it is really useful in this deck. Then we got some more enchantments. We got Seal of the Godhead and Shield of the Oversoul. These two are Lorwyn enchantments that have something to do with each color in their mana cost. So this one gives life +1/+1 and life link if the creature is white, and unblockable and +1/+1 if the creature is blue. And Shield of the Oversoul will give +1/+1 and indestructible if the creature is green, and flying and +1/+1 if the creature is white. Then we have Idyllic Tutor, which searches for an enchantment. Really useful in this deck because most of the deck is built around enchantments, so really useful to have this. Then we got Umbra Mystic, which allows us to have totem armor on all of our auras. So if in fact the creature would go to be destroyed, you can destroy the enchantment on it or a enchantment on it, and it would live instead. So this is really useful as well. And then we got another two commander staples, the Propaganda and Ghostly Prison. Basically just cards that keep people from attacking you because they have to pay mana for each creature attacking. And then we have Corrosion Grip for some artifact and enchantment removal that they cannot respond to. And then we have Supreme Verdict, the uncounterable board wipe. Really useful in dire situations where you need to get rid of everything on the board, but you don't want to risk it being countered. Supreme Verdict is awesome. Then we have Cryptic Command. So Cryptic Command, I'm pretty sure all of you have heard about before, but it is insane. It is a counter spell, a bounce spell, a tap spell, and a draw card, all on one spell. For 4 mana, 1 and 3 blue, you can choose 2 to either counter a spell, return target creature to its owner's hand, tap all creatures your opponents control, or draw a card. Now, the tap all creatures your opponents control, that is insanely good in Commander, because on the end of someone's turn, you tap everyone's creatures, or on your turn even, if you need to get through. You can tap everyone's creatures down, and then swing out, So, in this deck, it would be to tap down someone's creatures that I want to kill them with Rafiq, but they have a whole bunch of tokens or what have you. So if you tap them all down, then they can't block. Alright, now we have Angelic Destiny. So this is another enchantment. As you can tell, there are a lot of enchantments in this deck. So this one just basically turns something into an angel and gives it +4/+4 and flying. So not much else to say about that, except that when it dies, it goes back to the owner's hand. Whenever the creature dies, return this back to your hand. So it basically is like Rancor. So it goes back to your hand whenever whatever it's attached to dies. Then we have Light Minefield, which is basically like Propaganda and Ghostly Prison, except it deals damage to each creature attacking. And now we have another board wipe, which is Wrath of God. It destroys all creatures and they can't be regenerated. Very awesome. We have another Umbra. This might actually be the first Umbra, but we have another enchantment, another Aura. Bear Umbra. It just basically is in there to allow us to untap all our lands. And again, give totem armor and +2/+2 and, just keep hitting in hard. Then we have Harmonized Classic, draw 3 card spell. And then we have Angelic Benediction. It's a 4-drop enchantment that has Exalted, and whenever a creature attacks, attacks alone, you may tap a creature. Sorry about that. Alright, so now we have Perilous Vault. Another board wipe, except it exiles everything, which really comes in handy when you're dealing with like the Theros gods or the, indestructible gods that can't really get removed otherwise. So, very useful in that situation. Finest Hour is another enchantment with Exalted. And whenever a creature attacks alone, if it's the first combat phase that turn, you untap that creature and then you get an additional combat phase. So this will win the game if you have Rafiq out and maybe even one enchantment on him, and then he can attack twice. He can often kill someone right then and there. And then we have Norn's Annex. So this is another thing like Propaganda and Ghostly Prison. It just basically keeps everything from attacking you, because this one they either have to pay 2 life or they have to pay a planes for each creature attacking in order to attack you. And that also includes Planeswalkers that you control as well. And now we have Sphere of Safety. This is just like Norn's Annex, except for instead of paying 2 life or planes, you have to pay X mana for each creature attacking, but it's equal to the number of enchantments you control. So the reason I threw this in was because there were already so many enchantments that it would be like 7 or 8 mana most of the time when this came down to that you'd have to pay for each creature, and no one can afford that. So it basically means they're not attacking you ever. Then we have another Umbra. Same thing as last time, just gives Vigilance and +3/+3, and then it gives us Totem Armor. Really useful. And we have Celestial Mantle, the enchantment aura that whenever it deals combat damage to a player, it doubles the controller's life total. So this really helps us gain a whole lot of life. Then we have Open the Vaults to return all our enchantments and artifacts to the battlefield. Terminus, sort of board wipe. Dig Through Time, obviously, to draw some cards and get what we need when we need it. And now we're going to look at the Planeswalkers for the deck. So I run a Johnny Caller of the Pride. He's a 4 loyalty Planeswalker. His ability basically reads, target creature gains flying and double strike until the end of the turn. That's all I basically use him for, is just giving something flying and double strike evasion and then just dealing a whole bunch of damage. Then we have Elspeth Knight Errant. She's also kind of the same thing. She just is basically used for the +3/+3 and flying effect until the end of the turn. Then we have Tamiel. Now she is important in the deck because she keeps any big threat tapped, and she can also draw you cards in a pinch if you need it to. Alright, so that is the non-creature spells. So now we are going to get to the last part of this deck, and that would be the creatures. So we're obviously running Noble Hierarch because why not? It's exalted, and it also produces all of the colors we need in this deck. So Bant colors. So we got Noble Hierarch. Then we got Knight of Glory, another exalted card. And then Pearl Black. It can be a really good attacker. Chrysali Pride Mage, another exalted card that we can sacrifice to destroy an artifact or enchantment. And then Reflector Mage, which came out in Oath of the Gatewatch, which basically says, which does say actually that you bounce something to their hand, I believe it's target creature. Yeah, return target creature an opponent controls to its hand, to the owner's hand, and they can't cast any cards with that same name until your next turn. So a lot of the times you want to hit their commander with this, and then they can't cast their commander until your next turn. So basically until their next turn, because most commanders can't come out instant speed anyways. And then we have Geist of St. Traft. He's awesome with Exalted because he can still gain Exalted with even though he gets the Angel out, because you put the Exalted trigger on the stack before this ability, and so he gets all the Exalted triggers. Then the Angel comes out and he hits for a whole bunch. Then we got Hunted Phantasm. Basically just a big guy that is unblockable, that will always get through and is hard to kill. We can put a couple of enchantments on him and win the game that way. And then we have Dauntless Escort, and just a 3/3 Rhino that we can sacrifice to give all the creatures we control, indestructible this turn. And then we have Thassa, the God of the Sea. basically just to scry and then give stuff unblockable again. Then we have Stoic Angel, which is a creature that doesn't allow anyone to untap more than one creature during their untap steps, which really comes in handy when you're facing like a token deck or something. They can only untap one creature at a time, and that basically seals the deal on a token deck. You just win. Then we have the best Exalted card ever, Sublime Archangel, which gives every single creature you control Exalted, and she even has Exalted. And she is a 4/3 flyer for 4, and she's an angel. So giving everything Exalted helps immensely. It gives Rafiq another Exalted trigger, and just makes everything just super, super huge. And one creature will just basically win the game if you just set this down in like 4 other creatures, and you have Rafiq on the battlefield, then Rafiq will basically just punch through the last bit of damage that you need and win the game for you. And then we have Machiko. Now Machiko is whenever a source an opponent controls deals damage to you, that player sacrifices a permanent. Not that many permanents, but a permanent. But anytime something deals damage to you, as long as she's out, they have to sacrifice something, and pretty soon that's going to start hurting them because they're going to run out of tokens or lands or whatever they need, whatever they have, and it's really going to start affecting their mana and, sacking their important stuff that won't let them win the game. And then we have Glenelendra Archmage, which is just basically a creature counterspell. That's what I'd use it for. Also a good flyer that we could put enchantments on. Silent Arbiter, the same thing as Stoic Angel, except it adds that you can't attack with more than one creature each combat. Or, actually, hold on. You can't attack. It just says you cannot attack with more than one creature each combat, or you can't block with more than one creature each combat. So, yeah, similar to Stoic Angel, except instead of keeping things from untapping, it just makes it so that you can't attack or block. And we don't mind about this because we're trying to just attack with one creature anyways because of all the Exalted and everything in this deck. So this really helps. Then we have Solemn Simulacrum. He just searches for a land when he enters and draws a card when he dies. Commander staple. Sigarda, just basically a big hitter that we can put enchantments on to win the game. It also keeps us from sacrificing stuff with like Grave Pact and Dictate of Erebos. Then we have another Exalted Angel, which gives our creatures lifelink if they attack alone. Then we have Sovereigns of Lost Alara, which when a creature you control attacks alone, you may search your library for an aura, and then that could enchant that creature, and then you put that into play, attached to that creature, and then shuffle your library. So whenever a creature would attack, so say Rafiq, you search for your biggest, the most important aura you need at that time, and put it on him. Very helpful in a lot of situations. We have Sun Titan just to get something we really need back. That is converted mana cost 3 or less. From our graveyard to the battlefield. Oftentimes it's going to be enchantments because that's mainly what the deck is supposed to do. And then our last creature in the deck is Drogskol Reaver. Another flyer that is good at attacking, and he'll gain you some life, and he's got double strike by himself. But also, whenever you gain life, you draw a card. So this helps you get card draw. It also gets you life, and just this overall what we want in this deck. So that is the Rafiq of the many EDH deck that I run right now. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the Commander Chronicles episode 4 coming out soon. But anyways, until next time, keep on gaming. We'll see you later. Gila.